Hi, welcome to the explanatory video of the Metabolic Health Panel. The Metabolic Health Panel is a precision tool designed to help healthcare providers understand how their patients' genetics influence metabolism, nutrient utilization, and long-term cardiometabolic health. This panel goes beyond surface-level insights by exploring how genetic variations shape taste perception,
eating behavior, food intolerances, and macronutrient metabolism. It also highlights predispositions to key metabolic disorders, including obesity, cholesterol imbalance, type 2 diabetes, and cardiovascular risks. Taste perception plays a foundational role in how individuals experience flavors such as sweet, bitter, sour, salty, umami, and even fat. Genetic differences within taste receptor pathways shape sensitivity and preference, subtly guiding food choices, nutrient intake, and long-term metabolic patterns. Within this category, we begin with sweet taste perception. This trait is primarily influenced by the TAS1R2, TAS1R3, and RGS9 genes, which regulate sweet taste receptor signaling and downstream carbohydrate digestion and absorption. Variations in these genes determine how strongly a person perceives sweetness and how much they may be inclined toward sugary foods. Individuals with reduced sweet sensitivity may consume more sugar to achieve the same level of sweetness, increasing their risk of excess calorie intake and metabolic strain.
Those with moderate sensitivity often display a stronger preference for sweet foods, which can elevate sugar intake, depending on lifestyle and dietary habits. Individuals with typical or heightened sensitivity may naturally moderate sugar consumption, supporting balanced energy regulation. Nutrition strategies can be highly effective here. Simple flavor layering with citrus zest, cinnamon, or vanilla can create sweetness without added sugar. Rotating seasonal fruits keeps the palate engaged while delivering natural sweetness and diverse phytonutrients. Refined desserts can be swapped for baked fruit options, like cinnamon-roasted apples or pears, to retrain the palate. Even fermented foods such as kefir or kimchi help recalibrate taste receptors and reduce long-term sugar cravings. Lifestyle strategies make these effects stronger. A short 10 to 15-minute walk after sweet meals blunts blood glucose spikes and supports insulin sensitivity. Regular sleep patterns balance appetite hormones, reducing sugar cravings linked to fatigue. And finally, short, sweet retraining challenges, such as 2 weeks without refined sugar, can reset taste sensitivity and curb cravings over time. By combining these nutrition and lifestyle approaches, healthcare professionals can help patients align their genetic sweet taste predispositions with practical interventions that not only curb sugar intake, but also improve metabolic resilience. Next up, we have the category of bitter taste perception. This trait is strongly shaped by variations in the TAS2R gene family, particularly TAS2R38, which influences how intensely individuals perceive bitter compounds, such as those found in cruciferous vegetables. Supporting genes like TAS2R19, TAS2R31, PRR4, MGAM, and DIRC3 also play a role through pathways including taste transduction, carbohydrate metabolism, and nutrient absorption. For those with high sensitivity, bitter flavors may feel overwhelming, often leading to avoidance of nutrient-rich foods like kale, broccoli, or Brussels sprouts. This can reduce intake of vital compounds such as fiber, folate, and glucosinolates, impacting metabolic and detoxification pathways. For moderate sensitivity, individuals may experience mild aversion, selectively limiting certain vegetables, yet can still tolerate others in small amounts. For those with low sensitivity, tolerance to bitterness is higher, often resulting in broader dietary variety and easier inclusion of cruciferous and leafy vegetables. Nutrition strategies can make a major difference. Gradually increasing exposure by adding mild greens like spinach or butter lettuce to wraps builds tolerance. Pairing cruciferous vegetables with healthy fats like avocado, tahini, or olive oil not only masks bitterness, but also enhances nutrient absorption. Cooking methods such as air frying or roasting vegetables can transform flavor and reduce perceived bitterness. And when vegetables remain challenging, targeted supplementation with cruciferous extracts such as sulforaphane or DIM can be considered under professional guidance. Lifestyle strategies help reinforce these effects.
Structured meal planning that includes at least one mild vegetable per meal establishes habit consistency. Introducing small, frequent servings of less bitter vegetables, such as zucchini or carrots, improves tolerance over time. Adequate hydration supports taste balance and digestive function, while spending time outdoors strengthens circadian rhythm, mood, and food preference regulation. Altogether, understanding bitter taste genetics allows providers to guide patients in reshaping flavor preferences, ensuring better acceptance of nutrient-rich foods and supporting long-term metabolic health.
The second category in the Metabolic Health Panel is eating behavior. Eating behavior is shaped by physiological, psychological, social, and genetic factors. One key trait assessed here is the tendency to snack. Snacking refers to how often and how much food is consumed between regular meals. For some individuals, snacking is occasional and balanced. For others, it becomes frequent, higher in calories, and driven by stronger reward cues or reduced satiety signals. This is where genetics can add clinical clarity. Two key genes, MC4R and FTO, have been linked to snacking behavior. Variations in these genes can influence appetite regulation, hunger signals, and even how rewarding certain foods feel, shaping whether we're more likely to reach for snacks throughout the day. Individuals with high risk are more likely to snack frequently, which may lead to increased calorie intake and a higher risk of obesity if not managed carefully. Individuals with a moderately increased tendency to snack could contribute to extra calorie consumption and gradual weight gain if eating habits aren't balanced. Low-risk genetic profile suggests a typical snacking pattern, with no significant increase in snack frequency or calorie intake compared to the general population. From a nutrition perspective, focusing on foods that support satiety and stress regulation can make a meaningful difference. Including magnesium-rich foods, such as pumpkin seeds and leafy greens, may help regulate appetite signals, while also reducing stress-related eating patterns. Choosing whole fruits as a dessert option instead of sugary snacks can satisfy sweet cravings while providing fiber and micronutrients. Adding chia seeds or psyllium husk to smoothies or yogurt further increases fiber intake, helping promote fullness and reduce between-meal hunger. Lifestyle habits also play a key role in shaping snacking behavior. Drinking a glass of water before reaching for a snack can help distinguish true hunger from thirst, which is often mistaken for appetite. Planning meals ahead of time reduces reliance on quick, less nutritious snack choices during busy moments. Pre-portioning snacks rather than eating directly from the package helps bring awareness to quantity and prevents mindless overeating. The next category in the Metabolic Health Panel is macronutrient metabolism. It is how the body processes carbohydrates, proteins, and fats for energy and health. Genetic variations influence enzymes, hormones, and pathways, shaping nutrient use, weight control, and risk of metabolic disorders. Let's talk about the first trait, something that plays a huge role in your everyday energy and long-term health: carbohydrate response. This trait reflects how well the body metabolizes carbohydrates and regulates blood glucose after eating. Some people process carbs smoothly, keeping blood sugar stable, while others may experience spikes and dips that affect energy, appetite, and even long-term risks like weight gain or type 2 diabetes. Individuals' unique genetic profile gives us important clues here. Variations in genes like FTO, PLIN1, FGF21, MTNR1B, and PPP1R3B influence things like insulin sensitivity, appetite regulation, glucose storage, and how efficiently their body handles carbohydrate-rich meals. So, what do the results mean? If the result shows high risk, this suggests the body may be more prone to insulin resistance, especially with high-carb diets. That makes it harder to maintain stable insulin levels and can increase the likelihood of weight gain or metabolic imbalances. If the result shows moderate risk, this indicates a moderate tendency toward altered carb metabolism. While not as concerning as high risk, large amounts of refined carbs could still tip the balance toward insulin resistance or unstable blood sugar over time. If the result shows low risk, that means the body likely manages carbs quite effectively. Individuals are less affected by high carb intake, maintaining stable insulin levels and overall metabolic health even with a more varied diet. If the results fall into the high or moderate risk category, here are some science-backed steps you can take. Nutrition strategies. Swap in grains like barley groats or freekeh. They're rich in beta-glucan, which improves insulin response and lowers glycemic load. Try adding chia or basil seeds soaked in almond milk. They help with satiety and smooth out blood sugar swings. Lifestyle strategies. Take a 10-15-minute walk after your main meals. Even a light stroll significantly reduces post-meal glucose spikes. Include resistance training 3 times per week. Strength work boosts GLUT4 expression in muscles, helping your body absorb and use glucose more effectively. By aligning your nutrition and lifestyle choices with your genetic carbohydrate response, you can stabilize energy, protect metabolic health, and reduce long-term risks, all while eating in a way that truly works for your body. Next, let's look at the second important trait, protein response, a key factor in how the body digests, utilizes, and benefits from dietary protein. Protein isn't just about building muscle. It influences satiety, energy metabolism, and even how your body regulates blood sugar. But here's the thing. Not everyone responds to protein in the same way. Individual genetic makeup plays a role in how efficiently one can digest and metabolize it, and whether a high-protein diet will truly benefit. 2 important genes here are GKCR and PP1R3B. These influence glucose and lipid metabolism, as well as how the body stores and uses energy after protein intake. So what do the results mean? If the result shows high risk, this suggests that a very high-protein diet could actually work against. It may worsen metabolic imbalances, such as higher triglycerides or insulin resistance, so careful balance is key. If the result shows moderate risk, this points to a middle ground. A slightly higher protein intake may help support satiety and lean mass, but going overboard could still strain metabolism. A balanced, varied diet will be the best strategy here. If the result shows low risk, that's a favorable profile. It means the body likely thrives on higher protein intake, supporting appetite control, glucose regulation, and overall metabolic efficiency. For those with high or moderate risk, here are some practical steps. Nutrition strategies. Add fruits like papaya, pineapple, and kiwi. They contain natural enzymes, papain, bromelain, and actinidin that make protein digestion easier. Build meals around quinoa and wild rice with leafy greens and olive oil. These give balanced amino acids and slow-release carbs that improve insulin response. Lifestyle strategies. Rotate protein sources weekly, like poultry one week, fish the next, then legumes, to avoid metabolic overload and keep your body's enzyme systems adaptable. Try a weekly infrared sauna session or Epsom salt bath. Both help with detoxification, supporting sulfur pathways and reducing nitrogenous waste from protein metabolism. By understanding your protein response, individuals can fine-tune their diet to protect metabolic health, preserve lean mass, and feel more energized every day. When we talk about metabolic health, one essential trait we look at is saturated fat response. Saturated fat response refers to how your body reacts to saturated fats, commonly found in foods like butter, cheese, and red meat. While these foods are widely consumed, not everyone processes saturated fats in the same way. Genetic differences can influence how saturated fats affect cholesterol levels, fat storage, lipid metabolism, and even inflammatory pathways in the body. For some individuals, higher saturated fat intake may increase LDL cholesterol levels or increase the risk of cardiovascular and metabolic conditions. That's why understanding your genetic response to saturated fats can play a key role in protecting long-term heart and metabolic health. In this panel, we assess few key genes like TCF7L2, APOA2, and FTO. Together, these genes influence how the body handles blood sugar, regulates appetite, and processes dietary fats. Variants in these genes can affect insulin signaling, lipid metabolism, and fat storage, making some individuals more sensitive to saturated fat intake and more prone to weight gain, abdominal fat accumulation, and unfavorable cholesterol changes when saturated fat consumption is high.
Let's understand your results. If the result shows high risk, the genetic profile suggests a higher risk of obesity, abdominal fat accumulation, and metabolic syndrome, especially with a diet high in saturated fats. If the result shows moderate risk, the genetic profile suggests a moderate risk of obesity and metabolic syndrome, particularly with diets high in saturated fats or when the balance between polyunsaturated and saturated fats is less favorable. If the result shows low risk, the genetic profile suggests a lower risk of obesity and metabolic syndrome, particularly in relation to saturated fat intake and a healthier polyunsaturated to saturated fat ratio.
For individuals with high or moderate risk, targeted nutrition and lifestyle choices can significantly improve metabolic outcomes. Replacing butter or mayonnaise with avocado-based spreads is a simple but powerful step, as these provide monounsaturated fats that support a healthier cholesterol balance. Including berries such as blueberries and raspberries with breakfast helps provide polyphenols that counteract endothelial dysfunction and inflammation that can occur after high-fat meals. Another effective swap is replacing full-fat dairy creamers with unsweetened flax milk or oat milk creamers, which reduces saturated fat intake while adding lignans and beta-glucans to support lipid regulation. From a timing perspective, prioritizing early time-restricted eating, such as consuming meals between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m., supports improved fat oxidation and healthier metabolic biomarkers. Finally, engaging in fasted morning movement, like a light walk or gentle yoga, helps promote lipid mobilization and improve insulin sensitivity, setting a positive metabolic tone for the day. Understanding your saturated fat response allows you to personalize your nutrition and lifestyle choices based on your genetics, supporting better metabolic balance, cardiovascular health, and long-term well-being.
The next important trait we look at in the Metabolic Health Panel is unsaturated fat benefit. Unsaturated fat benefit describes how efficiently your body uses and responds to healthy fats, specifically monounsaturated and polyunsaturated fats found in foods like olive oil, nuts, seeds, and fatty fish. These fats play a crucial role in cholesterol regulation, inflammation control, and maintaining healthy cell membranes. However, genetics influence how effectively these fats are metabolized and how much benefit the body derives from them. For some individuals, the balance between unsaturated and saturated fats in the diet can significantly impact cholesterol levels and overall metabolic health.
In this panel, we assess 3 key genes, ADPOQ, PPARG, and FADS, that influence how the body processes dietary fats. Together, these genes affect fat metabolism, insulin sensitivity, inflammation control, and the conversion of fatty acids into forms that support healthy cholesterol balance. Understanding your results. If the result shows high risk, the genetic profile suggests a tendency toward higher total cholesterol and LDL cholesterol levels, particularly when dietary patterns have a low polyunsaturated to saturated fat ratio, meaning a P to S ratio of 0.33 or lower. If the result shows moderate risk, the genetic profile suggests moderate sensitivity to dietary fat composition. A low polyunsaturated to saturated fat ratio may lead to mild elevations in total cholesterol and LDL cholesterol. If the result shows low risk, the genetic profile suggests more stable cholesterol and triglyceride levels, regardless of the dietary polyunsaturated to saturated fat ratio.
For individuals with high or moderate risk, making intentional fat quality choices can significantly support metabolic health. Including seafood-based broths or soups is a simple way to add flavor while increasing omega-3 intake, which supports lipid balance and inflammation control. It's also helpful to avoid high-fat cuts of red meat, such as ribeye or lamb chops, as these tend to be higher in saturated fats that may negatively affect cholesterol levels. Regularly monitoring lipid levels, including total cholesterol, LDL, HDL, and triglycerides through lab testing can help track progress and guide adjustments to nutrition and lifestyle strategies. Finally, planning meals ahead of time, especially when dining out, can reduce impulsive choices that are high in saturated fats and help maintain a healthier balance of dietary fats.
Understanding your unsaturated fat benefit allows you to personalize your dietary fat choices in a way that supports healthier cholesterol levels, reduced inflammation, and long-term metabolic well-being. One of the key areas explored in the Metabolic Health Panel is weight management. Weight management is a multifactorial trait, shaped by both genetics and everyday lifestyle factors. Genetic variations in genes like FTO, MC4R, and GLP1R can influence appetite regulation, fat storage, energy expenditure, and hormonal balance, all of which play an essential role in how the body manages weight over time. For some individuals, specific genetic variants may increase susceptibility to weight gain by affecting hunger cues, fat distribution, or metabolic efficiency. Understanding these genetic tendencies allows for more personalized and sustainable strategies around nutrition, physical activity, and long-term lifestyle habits. If the result shows high risk, the individual's genetics suggest weight management may be more challenging, with stronger influences on appetite, energy use, and fat storage. Maintaining a healthy weight may require greater consistency in nutrition, physical activity, and lifestyle habits. If the result indicates a moderate risk, weight management is generally achievable, though appetite control and energy use may fluctuate. Balanced eating, regular movement, and supportive routines play an important role. If the result shows low risk, the genetic profile supports more efficient weight regulation, with balanced appetite and metabolism, making it easier to maintain a healthy weight with standard nutrition and lifestyle practices.
For individuals with high or moderate risk, targeted yet practical strategies can help support healthy weight regulation. From a nutrition perspective, focusing on colorful fruits and vegetables helps increase antioxidant diversity, which may positively influence genes involved in fat metabolism. Preparing meals at home using whole, minimally processed ingredients also improves dietary control and reduces exposure to highly processed foods that can disrupt appetite regulation. Lifestyle habits play an equally important role. Walking for 5 to 10 minutes after meals, especially after dinner, supports blood sugar regulation and enhances post-meal fat metabolism. Periodically tracking physical activity and food intake using apps or journals can also be helpful. This increases self-awareness, reinforces consistency, and supports long-term accountability without the need for constant monitoring. By understanding genetic tendencies related to weight management, individuals can move away from one-size-fits-all approaches and adopt strategies that align more closely with how their body naturally regulates appetite, energy, and weight.
The next trait explored in the Metabolic Health Panel is cholesterol dysregulation. Cholesterol plays a vital role in the body. It supports cell membrane structure, hormone production, and several essential biological processes. However, how efficiently cholesterol is transported and cleared from the bloodstream varies from person to person. Genetic differences can influence this balance. Less favorable genetic profiles may increase the likelihood of elevated LDL cholesterol, also known as bad cholesterol, which can raise the risk of atherosclerosis and cardiovascular disease, particularly when saturated fat intake is high.
In this panel, some of the key genes that are assessed are ApoB, LDLR, and SORT1. Together, these genes influence how cholesterol is transported in the blood, taken up by cells, and cleared from circulation.
If the result shows high risk, the individual has an increased genetic likelihood of elevated LDL cholesterol levels, which may contribute to a higher risk of atherosclerosis and cardiovascular disease. If the result shows moderate risk, the individual may experience mildly elevated LDL cholesterol levels and could be at moderate risk for cholesterol-related conditions, particularly when other factors such as diet or family history are present. If the result shows low risk, the individual has a lower genetic risk of developing cholesterol-related cardiovascular conditions. For individuals with high or moderate risk, consistent yet practical lifestyle choices can help support healthier cholesterol levels. From a nutrition standpoint, Consuming one handful of unsalted nuts each day, such as almonds or walnuts, can help improve lipid profiles by providing heart-supportive fats. Cooking with herbs and spices like basil, rosemary, and cumin adds flavor without relying on excess sodium or added fats, making meals more heart-friendly. Lifestyle habits also matter. Engaging in calming hobbies, such as gardening, painting, or listening to music, can help lower cortisol levels, which indirectly support cardiovascular health. Eating in a distraction-free environment, without screens during meals, can improve satiety awareness and help regulate portion sizes, supporting overall metabolic balance.
One of the key traits assessed in the Metabolic Health Panel is type 2 diabetes risk. Type 2 diabetes is a chronic metabolic condition characterized by insulin resistance and impaired insulin secretion, which leads to persistently elevated blood sugar levels. Unlike type 1 diabetes, insulin is still produced in the early stages, but the body does not use it efficiently. Over time, insulin production may also decline. Both genetics and lifestyle factors influence the likelihood of developing type 2 diabetes. When genetic risk is higher, dietary patterns that emphasize low glycemic foods, regular physical activity, healthy weight management, and circadian-aligned routines can play an important role in preventing or delaying disease onset.
In this panel, 3 key genes are assessed: TCF7L2, SLC3088, and MTNR1B. Together, these genes influence pancreatic beta cell function, insulin secretion, glucose regulation, and the body's response to circadian rhythms. Variations in these genes can affect how effectively insulin is released and how well blood sugar is controlled over time.
If the result shows high-risk genetic variants may lead to significantly reduced pancreatic beta cell function and impaired insulin secretion, increasing susceptibility to type 2 diabetes. If the result shows moderate risk, the genetic profile suggests a moderately increased likelihood of type 2 diabetes, influenced by variations that affect insulin function and glucose regulation. If the result shows low risk, the genetic profile indicates more typical pancreatic beta cell function and insulin secretion, suggesting a lower genetic risk for type 2 diabetes. For individuals with high or moderate risk, supportive nutrition and lifestyle strategies can help improve glucose regulation and metabolic resilience. From a nutrition perspective, developing meal timing awareness is important. Encouraging earlier dinners can better align eating patterns with natural circadian insulin sensitivity. Including probiotic-rich foods, such as unsweetened yogurt, kefir, or kimchi, may also support gut health, which plays a role in glucose metabolism. Lifestyle habits are equally impactful. Maintaining a consistent sleep and wake schedule, even on weekends, helps support circadian rhythm and metabolic stability. Avoiding large meals and caffeine late in the evening can further protect sleep quality and reduce overnight disruptions in glucose regulation. The next important trait assessed in the Metabolic Health Panel is triglyceride dysregulation. Triglycerides are the most common form of fat stored in the body and serve as a key energy source. After eating, excess calories, especially from carbohydrates and fats, are converted into triglycerides and released into the bloodstream. While this is a normal process, genetics play a major role in how efficiently triglycerides are processed and cleared. Certain genetic variants may predispose individuals to elevated triglyceride levels, a condition known as hypertriglyceridemia. When triglycerides remain consistently high, the risk of complications such as cardiovascular disease and, in severe cases, pancreatitis increases. In this panel, 2 of the few key genes assessed are ApoA5 and LPL. Together, these genes influence how triglycerides are broken down, transported, and cleared from the bloodstream. Variations in these genes can affect how quickly triglyceride levels rise after meals and how efficiently they return to healthy ranges. If the result shows high risk, the individual has a significant genetic predisposition for elevated triglyceride levels, increasing the likelihood of hypertriglyceridemia and related cardiovascular conditions.
If the result shows moderate risk, the individual has a moderate predisposition for elevated triglyceride levels, which may contribute to a mild increase in cardiovascular risk over time. If the result shows low risk, the individual has a more typical genetic tendency toward lower triglyceride levels, indicating a reduced risk for hypertriglyceridemia and related cardiovascular complications. For individuals with high or moderate risk, consistent dietary and lifestyle choices can help stabilize triglyceride levels, even in small amounts. From a nutrition standpoint, adopting small, frequent, balanced meals can help prevent large swings in blood sugar and triglycerides throughout the day. It's also important to remove alcohol, especially beer and spirits, as these can rapidly elevate triglyceride levels, even in small amounts. Lifestyle habits play a crucial role as well. Quitting smoking supports healthier lipid profiles by reducing oxidative stress and inflammation that can worsen triglyceride regulation. Incorporating daily stress management practices, such as mindfulness, meditation, or breath work, can help lower cortisol levels, which in turn supports more stable lipid metabolism. The next trait assessed in the Metabolic Health Panel is coronary artery disease risk. Coronary artery disease occurs when the arteries supplying blood to the heart become narrowed or blocked due to plaque buildup. This reduces blood flow to the heart muscle and can lead to symptoms such as chest pain or shortness of breath, while also increasing the risk of heart attack. In this panel, two key genes are assessed: CNMM2 and IA3. Together, these genes are involved in vascular health, cholesterol-related pathways, and inflammatory processes that influence plaque formation and arterial function. Variations in these genes can affect overall susceptibility to coronary artery disease. If the result shows high risk, the individual may have a significantly increased genetic susceptibility to coronary artery disease, meaning cardiovascular health may require closer attention and more consistent preventative strategies. If the result shows moderate risk, this genetic profile may confer a moderately increased likelihood of coronary artery disease, particularly when combined with lifestyle or environmental risk factors. If the result shows low risk, the individual is likely to have a reduced genetic susceptibility to coronary artery disease, suggesting a lower inherited risk for plaque buildup and related complications. For individuals with high or moderate risk, supportive nutrition and lifestyle habits can play a powerful role in protecting heart health. From a nutrition perspective, adding green tea can be beneficial, as its catechins help reduce LDL oxidation and support healthy blood vessel function. Including dark chocolate with at least 70% cocoa, in moderation, provides flavonoids that improve arterial elasticity and help reduce oxidative stress. Lifestyle habits are equally important. Avoiding secondhand smoke exposure is critical, as even passive smoking increases cardiovascular risk. Limiting screen time and digital overload, especially in the evening, supports relaxation, sleep quality, and circadian rhythm, all of which influence heart health.
Next, the trait assessed in the Metabolic Health Panel is myocardial infarction risk. A myocardial infarction, commonly known as a heart attack, occurs when blood flow to part of the heart muscle is suddenly blocked. This is most often caused by plaque rupture within the arteries, followed by clot formation, which prevents oxygen from reaching the heart tissue. Genetics play an important role in determining susceptibility to these events by influencing plaque buildup, inflammation, vascular remodeling, and clotting processes.
Few of the genes assessed in this panel are CDKN2BAS1 and MIA3. Together, these genes are involved in vascular integrity, inflammatory signaling, and plaque stability within the arteries. Variations in these genes can influence endothelial function and the risk of plaque disruption that may lead to a heart attack. If the result shows high risk, the individual may have increased susceptibility to myocardial infarction due to altered vascular remodeling, heightened inflammation, or impaired endothelial function. If the result shows moderate risk, This genetic profile may indicate a moderately increased cardiovascular risk, particularly when combined with other factors such as diet, stress, or family history. If the result shows low risk, the genetic profile suggests a lower inherited risk for myocardial infarction and other major cardiovascular events.
For individuals with high or moderate risk, heart-supportive nutrition and lifestyle habits can significantly reduce overall cardiovascular strain. From a nutrition perspective, it is helpful to remove coconut oil and palm oil, which are high in saturated fats, and instead favor healthier fats, such as olive oil. Replacing red and processed meats with soy, legumes, or fish reduces saturated fat intake while providing plant-based or marine protein that supports vascular health. Lifestyle habits are equally important. Maintaining consistent sleep and wake times, including on weekends, supports vascular repair, metabolic regulation, and hormonal balance. Creating a sleep-conducive environment, cool, dark, and quiet, while avoiding evening stimulants like caffeine, further supports restorative sleep and cardiovascular resilience. The last trait assessed in the Metabolic Health Panel is the hypertension risk. Hypertension, or high blood pressure, is a condition in which blood pressure remains consistently elevated over time. It often develops silently, without noticeable symptoms, yet significantly increases the risk of heart disease, stroke, and kidney complications if left unmanaged.
In this panel, few of key genes assessed are AGT, ACE, and NOS3. Together, these genes influence the renin-angiotensin system, blood vessel dilation, and nitric oxide production, processes that directly regulate blood pressure and vascular function. Variations in these genes can increase susceptibility to elevated blood pressure. If the result shows high risk, the individual has a significantly increased genetic risk of developing hypertension, driven by variations that may affect blood vessel function and blood pressure regulation. If the result shows moderate risk, the individual's genotype may moderately influence blood pressure, contributing to a higher likelihood of developing hypertension over time. If the result shows low risk, the individual's genetic profile suggests little to no inherited impact on hypertension risk triggers. For individuals with high or moderate risk, targeted nutrition and lifestyle habits can strongly support healthy blood pressure regulation. From a nutritional perspective, adding garlic may promote blood vessel relaxation and have modest blood pressure lowering effects. Replacing table salt with herbs, lemon juice, or salt-free spice blends enhances flavor without increasing sodium intake. Lifestyle choices are equally important. Avoiding recreational drugs such as stimulants or anabolic steroids is critical, as these substances can sharply elevate blood pressure. Using a home blood pressure monitor to track trends and variability helps encourage early awareness and timely intervention when changes occur.